So the word dharma comes from the Sanskrit root dri, which means to hold, to sustain. From that is the word we get dharan, which many of you know, to do dharan, to hold, and dharanat dharma. So this dharma is to hold, to sustain, to contain what? What? So it is to hold, sustain and contain those particular gunas, those particular pravritti, those particular vrittis, those specific qualities, tendencies which will take us towards two goals. I am not going into the deep etymological meaning of dharma and try to connect it with just about everything, because this is one of those words in Sanskrit that we can take your entire time at Vedika Gurukul, 12 years, do you agree, scholars? And not be able to explain what it means. However, because we are moving towards a track of Ayurveda and Dharma, and because many of you have had some basic understandings in Vedanta 101, I am just jumping forward and moving ahead to say that it is the maintaining, the holding and the sustaining of very specific moral, ethical qualities that will take us over towards the fulfillment of two goals. And according to Charak, our Ayurvedic sage and Rishi, whose words we follow to the T, these two goals are Abhyudaya, which means material prosperity, or you can say the worldly fulfillment, and the second is Nishreyas, or the path towards moksha. And if you do not understand moksha, then you just have to log on to our YouTube channel and check out our Vedanta introduction series, and you will understand that one category, the first one, is dealing with how you can be fulfilled and happy in this material world, in this vyavaharik reality, and the other is talking about the paramarthik, or the absolute joy, the absolute peace and the absolute fullness, which is our basic nature, but we are unable to attain. But according to the Vedas, according to Vedic sciences such as Yoga, Vedanta and Ayurveda, we are those privileged beings who can, if we want, create a bridge of knowledge, jnana, special kind of knowledge, and be able to achieve that fullness, which is not conditioned or qualified or temporary or apparent, but it is always there. And we don't have to change our body or metamorphosize into something. Instead, we just have to recognize it within ourselves by changing the type of consciousness we have. When we are, for example, a very common example is looking at our body only as a house of disease, then we can just catch every piece of data, from the fungus in the nail to the pain in the stomach to dryness on the skin, and even have a vata pitta kapha panic attack. If we are health conscious, on the other hand, we can be aware of what are the things that are functioning within us, and we can be aware of some positive attributes that are also operating in us. So nothing changed, only the way you perceive things changed. So in ignorance, we perceive that we are bound and we are suffering. But when you achieve moksha, you can say that your consciousness itself has changed, nothing else, and you are able to perceive some potential within you that was always there, but you just couldn't see it earlier. So dharma is that which must be cultivated by conscious beings. So what is this dharma, you can ask? Is this a set of very specific defined values? Is there like a 12-step charter that I have to do? Is it only a very, very defined tradition? is it a very clear program that I have to follow? Then my answer to you, dear students, is that actually it cannot be defined and nor can it be restricted, because Dharma is not that which sustains only us human beings. Whether you have Kosha Panchakam operating through you, or whether you only have one kosha, you are a jiva of one kosha or many koshas, you are a very, very complex human being. It is none but Dharma that sustains you. In fact, how to function as a living being, education comes later. Education teaches you how to sit, how to talk, how to be aware there. But Dharma is already instilled within you, because that is the basic level at which you will function. So a flower is a flower because of an inherent power to be the flower. There is an inherent holding of the system. So therefore, even for our herbs, we say, what is its guna dharma? How does the herb know what it has to do? Right? Because of its inherent intrinsic intelligence that holds the system in place. So from a microparticle to this entire universe, Dharma is that which is holding and doing the dharana of this entire srishti, this entire universe, at the macro level, even at the micro level, even at the level of a kit or a pipalika, ant or insect, or this mighty, human being with its, beautiful panchakoshas, being this complex human being in the fast track to moksha. Not only Dharma works for us, but for this entire universe. Secondly, it is because of Dharma that we know our basic swabhava or our intrinsic nature. For example, we often say that, if you give grass to the tiger, will it eat? It will say, no, sorry, I'm a meat eater, right? So it is its intrinsic quality. We cannot say, what a bad animal this tiger is. We cannot say that. In fact, the tiger should not quit eating the meat, because it will lose all its bala and it will become very weak. Do you agree? So it must eat what it eats. It is its swabhava, and we cannot say that it is a violent animal. It is just doing what it needs to do to feed itself. So it is its basic swabhava that is also dictated by Dharma. There is some universal consciousness, a universal laws, a universal regulation of every being that is also called Dharma. So it regulates how they will function, how they will be, their essential nature, and each one of us has that within us. Thirdly, it also enjoins us for doing certain duties. For example, when the mother hears the baby cry, she will drop everything to pick up the baby. Now, we don't have to send her an email reminder to tell her, remember you are a mother, you should pick up your baby. We have to be reminded to pay taxes. So I don't know if it is part of our inherent dharma or just forced upon us. We should contemplate it. But even if the mother says to the baby, you have been crying a lot, I will now neglect you for 5 minutes. Mother cannot neglect the baby for 5 minutes. Mother will have a panic attack. The reason for that is that dharma-based duty is not externally imposed, it is internally expressed. It just manifests, it just flowers, like the jasmine has a scent. In the same way, every living being is performing its dharma. Even that blade of grass is erect and beautiful and performing its duty in the universe. Every day the blade of grass doesn't say, oh, why am I alive? Look at me, I'm a blade of grass. No. The blade of grass knows it has a duty to perform by being that blade of grass. If every blade of grass goes away from its duty, do you know there will be Janapada Dvans? Do you know there will be complete destruction of the ecosystem? Do you agree? So everything is performing its dharma, and it is not from external, but it is internal. And fourthly, dharma is akin to sattva guna in the mind, and I don't need to explain sattva guna to the participants of this satsang. It is the purest and the highest and the most divine quality of our mind that is sometimes latent, but oftentimes it is expressing itself more and more in us. Now, because of dharma that we see that each one of us human beings, there is a desire to grow. There is a desire to excel. There is a desire to improve ourselves. Do you agree? For many of you, is it, all of you have actually come here somewhere wanting to study Ayurveda because you want to be healthy, right? Has anybody registered here wanting to be unhealthy? No one. Nobody actually chooses to be a criminal. They may become a criminal. Do you agree? And we hear many stories of criminals changing completely, 100%. We have shared many of those things with you. Why? Because in everybody there is some hidden heartbeat, hidden. And it is the heartbeat of Dharma, which is telling this entire universe to evolve and become better, best, excellent, and beyond. This whole universe is evolving. Swami Vivekananda has written very beautifully about it. The evolution of consciousness. It is, as many of you will find out, harder to sabotage yourself, harder to stay small, harder to tell lies to yourself, and after a while it is just easier to be more truthful. Yes or no? So there is some deposit within us to be good, to be righteous, to be noble. And that's why sometimes with noble people, we will say for them, they are very dharmic. That is a dharmic organization. Or, I am sorry, I will not take this bribe, though I need the money, because though my mind may be salivating, my dharma does not allow me. That means this dharma lives beyond the mind, beyond the needs of the mind, beyond the stories of the mind. And in everywhere there will be a mind with which they will do practice, take the money, sell the medicine because the patient needs it or because the doctor needs to buy a new sofa. So but if dharma is alive within them, or if they are aware of it, it is deposited everywhere. But if it is not just latent, but it has become, may I say patent? Is that correct English? We Indians like to say latent but patent, but maybe it is not correct. So it is not latent, but it is expressed. Is that correct English? Okay. It's expressed. When that dharma is expressed, when it is awake, then it guides us. And it will tell us what is okay and what is not okay. We don't really need to Google to find out what should be our next steps. Our inner conscience, is that a good word? And that conscience is always not an ordinary conscience which only is looking after and calculating your benefit. When your buddhi, your discriminating faculty, is awakened, it has sattva in it, it is sattvic buddhi, then at that time one does not think only of one's own hita, benefit. Any such contemplation always includes janahita, or it is a win-win, win for me, win for the society. There is no compromise here. I'll give you a simple example that we can go on prescribing herbs, we can go on plucking herbs from India, which is the motherland for these herbs, and shipping them all over the world for a wild consumption of herbs. Or we could be the kind of Vaidya who, if we are utilizing herbs for our practice or in our own personal life, we also take the trouble to learn how to grow these herbs, how to preserve these seeds, how to take care of something that is taking care of me. Now, another example, we walk into a piece of land and we think this is a very wild land and let me clear this and let me grow some fruit seeds, because 10 years now I will get fruits and my children and I will be very comfortable. That is still a calculated transactional, person needs to get a vision that this can be a garden that I will invest in, and then the yield or the profit will come 5 years, 10 years later. So here we are still seeing rajas, where one is still selfishly thinking. Another person comes and they see this garden, with this land which is parched of water, okay, and they feel the love of the plants that are growing around, to say how they must be also hungry and thirsty. And this person starts like just taking care of the garden from a humanitarian point of view. Because Vambhat has said, our Rishi, that do your best to see, to do your utmost best to look at every diseased, afflicted, poor person and even insect and ant as none but your own self. So if that person, if they are dharmic, they will look at this piece of land and they start taking care of it. Every morning they make their morning breakfast, they do their yogasana, they take care of their dinacharya, and then they also look after the garden. Because the garden is now getting regular water, the soil has been tilled, so it's absorbing more, good vayu, prana. There is some fertilizer being put in there, just because this person wants to feed everything. They are putting their food biological.
Compost.
They are making compost. Thank you, that word was running away. We make compost here at Vedika, and they were adding it. They were not just trashing it. They were adding it back to the soil. Then one day, this person was also meditating and saying, whatever I could do, please forgive me, Mother Earth. And here is the, Prithvi Sukta for you as a thank you, and here is the hymn for you and Gayatri Mantra for you. And then one day they suddenly see that lots of fruit trees have come up. Because those seeds were just lying there. But they were just waiting for some dharmic person to love that land from dharma. And that person, now the fruit they eat is the prasad. This is called, abhyudaya. So we are not just talking about making some quick money and putting it in the bank, because I did this, so you did this, so I made this profit and I made this cut. But this is just the material prosperity comes to us because we are dharmic. And when we were taking care of all of this, some invisible punyam, you all know punyam now, was also being added. And this kind of, this loka and paraloka, this life and next life, your cosmic account was becoming more and more pure, and you will attract better teachers, knowledge, and you will be able to do better sadhana, and ultimately that same land will become a tapobhumi. You will be meditating, and you will not be now taking care of plants outside. You are taking care of some great jnana and knowledge inside you see, and you start encountering your higher self more and more and more. So a dharmic person doesn't always say what is in it for me. That is the sattva buddhi. They do the right thing sometimes even when the sun was beating very hard and one could just give up on watering that garden, but one felt like it was their duty. It was a noble thing to do. It was the way to do it. So the path of the sattvic person who is understanding dharma, it becomes atma prakashit, or it just becomes, English should be self-illumined. And this atma prakasha, from the illumination from within that comes due to dharma, this atma prakash, it just opens the way. It just shows the way person is no longer lost. But when rajas is there, then the person doesn't understand dharma. They can be given satsang, they can be given stories about it, but the rajasic buddhi person will usually, for example, somebody may insult them, and the rajasic buddhi person might think, my dharma is to get back my revenge. And they will spend now 10 years trying to get revenge and spend a lot of time and energy doing that. And in fact, they will justify everything as, it is my warrior's dharma, it is my righteous dharma, it is my victim's dharma. And they will use the word dharma like nobody's, that's not appropriate. And the tamasic buddhi will actually not like to entertain the word dharma. They will just be adharmic. Whereas there they will sell the land, make the wrong deals, commit some crimes to get some money or some dollars or some recognition, and it does not matter who they hurt or what happens. And we need not feel like, oh, people like that exist, because they do. And so because all three exist together, tamas, rajas, sattva, that's how it is in this reality here with us. It's in our mind too. It's in everything. Rajatama Sattva. So dharma is that which comes with sattva, that we have clarified. Now, how do we embody this dharma as students at Vedika Gurukul? So let me just give you two examples. One is from Manusmriti, Rishi Sage Manu, and one is from our own Rishi Charak. So Manusmriti has given the lakshanas, or the 10 features of dharma. So he says, Dhriti Kshama Damo Aste Shaucham Indriya Nigra Dhir Vidya Satyam Akrodham Dasham Dharma Laksha. This is very interesting because my teacher explained how they go in order, but I may not have the time to explain it. Some other satsang we will do. But they are explaining that if the following 10 are present, then we can know that dharma is well established. So these are, the first one is dhriti. Dhriti means forbearance. The person who has dharma in them will not be reactive people to begin with. They will be able to sustain much more. They are actually, you will find them as if they are carefully and calmly nurturing good qualities. Why are you suffering so much? You could just run away, leave it, quit. Oh no, this is good for me. I need to do this. This is my lesson. Dhriti. They just are becoming strong. Kshama. They forgive easily. Many times we are offended, but the Rajas Buddhi will hold on to it and build it into something new every day. Every morning, ting, new idea. I have been offended, I will start again. And Tamas will be busy already eliminating the person who offended them. But they will just forgive. It's okay. It's alright. Damo. This is related to mind control. So one who has dharma in them, their mind will not be able to lead their decisions in life. Asteyam, they will not be stealing. Stealing can be of ideas. Stealing can be of, ordinary stealing, but it can be also just, stealing is also related to greed, for example. Stealing has, it has many complex. Stealing is related to an uncontrollable lust. Stealing also has to be related with many things. The indriyas running here and there. So who does not steal? One who has become content. One who has santosh. Simple as that. Then we have Dhir Vidya Satyam Akrodham. So Dhir relates to that they seem to be exhibiting some amount of discriminating faculty. After all, Ayurveda begins with the discrimination between Hita and Ahita. Yoga Sutras I have been teaching you teach discrimination between Nitya and Anitya, eternal and non-eternal. Right? Charak has talked between Nivritti Marga and Pravritti Marga. So there are all these important choices that are open to us in every decision. We cannot say, okay, I learned that Hita, Hitam, Sukham, Dukham, that was in the shlok. We will be faced with it in our clinic. We will be faced with it in our corporate decision. We will be faced with it in our life. We will be faced with it when some people who do not know Ayurveda mock us. And we have to understand that should we react or lose our just stop our journey of education because many people don't approve of what we do. So approval is anitya. And the Shashwat science of Ayurveda is nitya. It is teaching us something, an eternal truth. So what is worth holding on to, right? So these are some decisions that we have to face, and this happens with somebody whose dhi or buddhi is active, and person with a dharma seems to have a reflective, contemplative and discriminative behavior. And vidya, they will show up in the satsang. They will go to our library with books by saints, scholars, swamis, and they will be reading many sections of our granthas from Ayurveda, Yoga, Vedanta to really follow this deep knowledge of the self and the world. They are not just flipping a magazine to say what are the fall colors. because it's okay, but they will not spend all their time following this. We have talked about para vidya. Just just lose knowledge. They will be seeking deep knowledge. They will be worshippers of knowledge. They will move across states to that school or that teacher where they can get the right knowledge. They will travel across oceans, maybe to India, to Israel, to wherever they need to, because one teacher is waiting or one conglomeration of knowledge is happening. So they are seekers of knowledge, because Dharma knows what to seek and what not to seek, right? Vidya is the only way. We are Jnana Yogis here, which will take us further. Then Satyam, naturally somebody who has balanced mind, who is a seeker of knowledge. What will be they exhibit? They will become lovers of truth and worshippers of truth. And when we say Satyam, we are talking about Brahma Satyam and Jagat Mithya. We are talking about a very deep understanding of being realistic and being reality driven. And the reality is not ordinary reality, but we are talking about they become seekers of the ultimate reality here. Of course, because of that, their day-to-day conversations are not laden with white lies, etc. It just becomes more and more clean and straightforward, and they'll bring up what they have in their heart sooner or later and clear the air. Are you understanding? And Akrodha, I have already done this in the last satsang. If I remember, that Krodha is something which is a Dharanya Veg in Ayurveda. So why were the sages saying that you should not express anger? And there is a lot of question marks about, after all, this is righteous anger. But if you have come to the stage of anger, already your Dhi, Dhriti, Smriti have failed you. Anger is not needed, communication is needed. Anger is not needed, discussion is needed. Anger is not needed, deliberation is needed. Anger is not needed, mediation is needed. Anger is not needed, worship is needed. So anger, akrodham. So this person will not just be this angry, sparky person who's saying, I'm angry. The person might just say, it's interesting, I have an opportunity and I'm looking at it and I'm working on it. And the language will change. So this is according to Manu. Now, we have the whole chapter on Sadavritti, Chara, we have it in Ashtang. We have scattering of teachings in all our granthas. But time permitting, 3 more minutes, I would like to say that Rishi Charak has mentioned a beautiful shlok in Sutrasthan. And he says, one should assiduously, follow the path of brahmacharya. So brahmacharya, we know, is not just abstinence of the sexual urge, but brahmacharya is discipline and regulation. Why brahmacharya? Why does this word brahmacharya first? And we understood in the tradition of learning from our teacher, which I learned from my teacher. He explained that until such time we understand the concept of brahmacharya, we are just like any other animal. Food and procreation and fulfillment of the base desires. And they are based not in terms of we don't like them, but just they can say that they are belonging to something that to all the jivas of all kinds of koshas. So it is a need of the body, but it should not be the focus of the body. And with brahmacharya begins an understanding that I am more than just that. Because it brings with it the whole drama of relationships and losing ourselves in it and being distracted. So it definitely begins with brahmacharya. Even if one is in grahastha ashram, there should be some regulation and some understanding that there are limits to which this part of me needs to be indulged. After brahmacharya comes the word, gyan or jnana. Interesting, huh? That once brahmacharya starts happening, once this starts becoming more regulated, the higher areas start opening, and we actually start saying, okay, now let me look at this philosophy and understand what's happening. Let me sit with my teacher. Otherwise, we need to be in our next hair appointment or our nail appointment or our next shopping or our next date on the blind dating site, and we're just lost, looking for something. But instead now, once there is brahmacharya, the building has become stabilized, we can build knowledge. After knowledge, then we use the word dan. Rishi Charak has said dan. Now dan is interesting, it's giving. So we don't want to just simply put it away as donation. Okay, good. Now Swara will write $101 for Vedika and she's done. Huh? Or so she might write 1001 or 1,000,001 and she feels, I am very dharmic. No, it is not just about dan as in giving something physical. Write a house, write a money, which people really reduce it to that. Who is a dani? Dani is one who has stopped wanting or needing. He has stopped being this selfish, self-centric, caving into oneself and one's ego kind of a personality, but instead has become now a giver. So one can do dan of one's intelligence, one's actions, one's vidya, one's love, one's compassion, and even write a check from that space, you see. So one who has knowledge is the one who will become a dani. So it's interesting how these words are also placed, And then after dan, the word is maitri. Maitri means friendship. And friendship, because such a person only who is now no longer wanting and then complaining that they didn't get fulfilled. But now one is giving. And when one is giving, one need not be angry with this, that and that person who didn't give me, but one can just be friends with all. One starts seeing everyone and everything as a friendly attribute of Brahman or reality. So Maitri, and after then Harshopeksha, and then Harsha. There is a joy. This Harsha is, there is a joy. There is a giving and receiving of joy. And Apeksha here represents, there is no anger, but if some things are not going well for a dharmic person, Apeksha would mean like ignoring, like indifference. Just, it's unimportant. Why is it unimportant? Not a cold behavior of it's unimportant, but it's okay. There is rajas also, there is tamas also. I must have done some karma. You've all been taught that karma theory to not take things personally. It's all right. Apeksha. Because the more we think about it, the more it will build up, and then rajas and tamas will increase and take us away. So this apeksha is also important. When to perform apeksha?